Good afternoon. This is Glenn Atwell Sr. with ComCept. We're going to put on a webinar. It's going to be the first in a series of webinars to try to make our customers more and more aware of the different products we have and, what each one does. And each webinar is going to be brief, and we'll focus on specific products on the webinar. What the webinar is going to be about today is CollisionScan and CollisionVend. It's going to be presented by Glenn Atwell Jr. and Todd Johnson, who most of you know, and they certainly are well versed on these products. What I'm seeing out there is that the industry's changing drastically. You're always going to have your B shops, your C shops, whatever, but definitely the A shops are changing. Your margins are squeezing when you're going to the A shops because of the volume business they do. We're finding it apparent, and I saw it in the food service industry many years ago. I think this industry is a little bit behind, but the future for a jobber has to be the automation of tasks. When we're saying task, we're talking about counting inventory, organizing inventory, purchasing inventory. And those tasks just do not make sense to be done by a person when you have margins as low as they'll be. I'm going to hand it over to Glenn and Todd now, TJ, and they'll make the presentation.
CollisionVend and CollisionScan are the only cloud-based automated and secure perpetual inventory control systems for collision centers. There's no other product on the market today that is completely integrated that handles everything from the minute a technician takes something to be used all the way through the distribution process, from ordering, picking, delivering, invoicing, and receiving into the shop's inventory, completely and totally automated, other than this family of products. There are some out there that do pieces of that, but they're all missing one segment or another. The other thing that makes these systems so special, and why we really are proud of what we have to come out there, is it's completely customizable and configurable to what it is that a particular shop may want to do. We have the coil machines that you see in the upper left there that will handle most of the dry goods that are needed to, especially for supplemental recovery. We also have the lockers that will handle most of the liquids. We have single-sided, as you see there. There's also a double-sided solution that can handle up to 76 quart toners all at one time. And we also have CollisionScan, which is the barcode scanning component that, above and beyond all, can do everything vending can do, with the exception of having the locked box. So if the shop has a system in place and they trust their employees to follow a process, they can do everything they want to do with simply CollisionScan without having to have CollisionVend. However, if there's a situation where the process needs to be enforced or the material needs to be secured, that's where CollisionVend can come in as well, and work even in conjunction with CollisionScan for things, smaller and larger items such as rolls of paper and clips on the other side. And if you go back up to the front page, in that larger picture there, if you see the environment that's in production today at an existing customer, if you look to the far right-hand side, there is a CollisionScan station there next to a clip cabinet working in conjunction with the vending machines. The coil machines are completely configurable and reconfigurable as product choices change. The locker machines are completely configurable at order from the manufacturer. They can go from 4x8 doors all the way up to 18x18 doors, depending on the configuration. They're 18 inches deep, 9 inches deep if you go with the double-sided options. So you can see there's a lot that's there. It's completely and totally up to the use of the shop as to how you want to set these things up. We even offer a service now where once the products that need to be vended are decided upon between the jobber and the shops, we will actually configure the machines to match those products. There is no jigsaw puzzling that has to be done to figure out the best way to fit those in the machines. We work with the manufacturer to do that. There are a lot of benefits to these systems, some to the collision center and some to the distributor, and some of those overlap. I'm going to touch on some of them here, and obviously we have much more detail on some documentation on these. The email address you will see at the end if you want more information. This presentation you see here is actually attached to this webinar for download. I have a more detailed version that I can send out as well. If you send me an email and ask for more information, I'll be happy to follow up with that. The benefits to the Collision Center obviously is the secure storing and tracking and dispensing of the supplies. And as I just touched on with all the different ways to do that between the vending machines and CollisionScan. Where it really gets into the savings to the Collision Center has to do with, first and foremost, recoverability. The system's complete integration with the jobber management system allows this to track usage by RO and by technician, and allows the jobber to provide an invoice to the shop for what exactly was used for each job. It's an invoice with the jobber's logo, just like any other invoice from them, completely unedited by the shop. This has improved the integrity in the eyes of the insurance industry, and they are paying on these much more frequently than they did any other kind of reporting prior. Along with those supplemental invoices, it has complete reporting by technician, machine, and by RO number, and every combination within there, and you're going to see some of that in a little bit. And it allows for real-time perpetual inventory reporting, and that applies both to the single shop and to the MSO, and it has the ability to roll it up to the MSO level or break it out at the individual shop level for that MSO. They can report on it either way they need to. It's been demonstrated in multiple shops around the country to increase revenue between more efficient usage, because when people are watched, you know, they're more efficient. They don't waste, and they don't take. So between more efficient usage and increased recovery, it has put more money on the bottom line of every shop that has it in place, whether it's CollisionVend or CollisionScan. To the distributor, the obvious first advantage is the complete integration with Collision Links and ComCept.net. The orders come in directly to the distributor. No salesman has to go kick cans, count cabinets, and spend time down there taking an order for tape and seam sealer. The process and the model for the salesman, for the distributor, he can be reassigned to do things that are more advantageous to both the distributor and the shop, mainly consulting with the shop, for example, on ways they can make more money and be more efficient. He acts as more of a consultant than a salesman, because he's not spending that time out on the shop floor digging in cabinets anymore. We already talked about product flexibility, but it also allows for a different quantity functionality for the jobber. If the shop is using rolls of tape, the jobber does not want to receive orders for 28 individual rolls of tape, for example. It wants to receive an order for a sleeve or a case or whatever the arrangement is with that shop as to how they're going to sell it to them, and the system allows for those quantities to be set, and it does the translation for you. So it sets in there completely. Another advantage of that integration is the exclusive supplier of vended items can be the distributor. Because you own the machines typically, you're putting them in the shop, you are the ones that put the product in there. So there's not going to be shopping around of products and things like that from the distributor standpoint, but it also allows for one supplier and that supplier relationship also on the shop side. This slide very simply says that the way we have set this up because of this integration is once the order is placed for a jobber to put this into a shop, while the machines are being built or while the PC is on order for the CollisionScan system, the entire thing can be set up in the ComCept software with all of the products assigned to the appropriate locations and everything completely configured, so that when it goes to be installed, all they have to do is take an inventory, fill the product into that stock location, whether it's a machine or a cabinet or whatever the case may be, and plug the machine or the PC in, and they'll be done. It's almost completely plug and play once the equipment gets to the site. It's very easy to implement. There's not several days of consulting from somebody that comes on site and charges money for that. We do it all off-site, all remote, and it works out very well. We've done it several times around the country. This goes to the easy to configure part. This is just a screen of one of our bin configurations in ComCept.net. It very simply is set up where you see it says vending machine there. That could just as easily say stocking location if it was CollisionScan. They set up the same way. The system treats both the exact same way. Once the data comes into ComCept, the system treats it the same way. It just sees vending machines and barcode scanning as two different input devices into the same process. That's why they work so well together. This is some examples of some of the reporting. This is usage by machine. This would also be usage by stock location if it was a CollisionScan stock location. This is a usage by RO report. You can see it has the technician's name there as well as the RO number, so you know who took it for that job as well as what was taken. Usage by technician is the same way, and it's just reversed here if you see the technician and the RO number. And TJ will show you these in more detail later. This is the supplemental invoice. As you can see, it's pointed out that it would look just like a normal invoice. It would have the customer name and address in the bill to section, and it would have the your logo if you're the distributor, or the distributor's logo at the top. The only difference between a normal invoice and this is the word supplemental in the top right, and the fact that it has the technician name and the VIN date or stocking location date on it. Those were requested by the insurance industry. Here's the slide, the information I was telling you about for any information at the end, and you'll see this slide again at the end. Is CollisionVend at ComCept.net or 727-535-1900, option 2. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Todd, also known as TJ, and we will let him walk you through the actual application.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad you all made it to the webinar here. My name is Todd Johnson. I also go by TJ. What we're going to just kind of show you here is a quick little run through of collision links and the CollisionScan module, which, like Glenn was talking about, simulates vending. It's just a different type of input device. The Collision Links portal, this is your Collision Center's portal into the jobber's database. It's specific to them. They can't get any access to any other customer information. Above and beyond the CollisionVend or CollisionScan products, Collision Links also offers reporting tools for the Collision Center, on-demand statements, on-demand invoice and credit printouts, along with a multitude of other reporting tools. They can also do ad hoc ordering if they're not using scanning or vending, build orders. They can maintain customer inventories, do count sheets. So all that is, separate or attached depending on what configuration and process you've put together for that Collision Center. What you see over here on the left-hand side, this is the actual CollisionScan module. These are all, depending on what device you're using for the input. It's all touchscreen capable, also fully barcode capable. So what they'll do is they will go ahead and grab the bin that they're working with, stocking location like Glenn was referring to in the inventory setup. For instance, clips. Now, if you have different scanning locations, different areas of the shop, you can actually configure each CollisionScan input device to be hard-coded to that stock location so they don't have to select that. Each technician will also have a barcode. So when first thing they're going to do, if they select the stock location, they do that. Then they go ahead and they scan who they are. And then they'll enter their job number. This could also be a scannable type idea here as well for scanning that information in. And then they're going to scan the product. If I was doing multiple items for the same RO number, I can just hit next item, and then I can scan another item. I could also skip over to another RO number, choose a proper different stock location. If they scan the wrong one, they can clear the screen. And there's also a barcode that will simulate the send routine, which will actually send that. And you'll see some orders over here within Collision Links. These are the orders that are being built as products are scanned out of each of those stock locations. So when they're finished scanning, they just pop the scanner back down in the cradle, continue on. Collision Links does not have to be open on the same device. All that stuff runs independent, so basically they'll be looking at just a scanning module in the areas where they're checking out merchandise. As that is being sent, it's building orders. I'll just kind of take another look at the inventory setup. For instance, in the clips, we've got stock locations and in stock levels. This is what Glenn was referring to when he was talking about selling unit of measure from the jobber to the collision center versus a scanning unit of measure. So in the case of clips, you don't want to, you're probably not sending 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 clips at a time. You're going to be sending them in full boxes. So you've got a selling unit of measure of a box versus your scanning unit of measures of eaches. So what these stock minimums do is that's what triggers it to automatically put that full box of clips on the order once the inventory drops below that certain point. So if we go back to orders, this particular order right here, you see that's where it actually, those 3 that were below the stock level, they've actually already ordered a full box. These will then be either submitted by the collision center or they can be automatically harvested. You know, if you've worked out a schedule, so to speak, as far as when you deliver, Tuesdays at 10 and Thursdays at 4, you can automatically harvest those into the jobber system, get your work orders automatically created, picking tickets, shipping, and invoicing those products. So everything they check out is reducing their on-hands, and you can see their on-hands back in the inventory lists. So every time they scan something, it's removing an on-hand. This is where that perpetual inventory all kicks in. The actual invoice coming back from the ComCept jobber system is what's adding the on-hands back in. So there's no extra work that has to be done by the collision center to receive goods into inventory. It's all automatic at that respect. Just a little look at a couple of the reports. Here's where you're going to locate your supplemental invoice. Real simple parameter page on that. You can do them by date ranges if you got a certain ROs for the day, or if you're doing an individual RO, just key the RO number in and show the report. And here is an example of that supplemental invoice. So it's showing you the item codes, the unit of measures, the pricing. This is actually configured based on how you're running it, whether you want MSRP/list price versus collision center cost. And then you choose that right on the parameter page as well. Shows the technician on there, the date time stamp of when the vending or the scanning was done, and of course your quantities. You also see the order number that it actually was building in the background. The ones that don't have order numbers, those are the products that are still in the hopper that are being built until it hits that box quantity in the case of those clips. The other report that Glenn was referring to in his PowerPoint there was the replenishment usage report. This one is where you choose how you want it grouped based on just displaying the report. If you want it first grouped by RO number, then by technician. Maybe you want to do it by the actual stocking locations if you have multiple stock locations, or this could be vending machines as well. And then maybe grouped by tech after that, or grouped by RO number then tech. All kinds of different options as far as how you want to do that. If you just want to see summaries, you go ahead and just say summarize by whichever one of those group locations. It'll just give you total dollars without all the item code detail. A couple examples of those. This one is being grouped by the stock location. So here's everything in the abrasives cabinet, time and date stamps on everything that was checked out, quantities, and also the technician. And one more right here. This is actually done by RO number, which basically simulates the supplemental invoice, just more in a report format and layout. So it's by RO and then by tech within each of those ROs. You can also take this report or any of these reports that are available to them out to a spreadsheet. So you see there's an export format here as well. I would just select that, and then I'm going to choose data only. When I show that, then I'm actually getting a spreadsheet that you can then customize, do all the different things you want to do. So whether you're printing, your perpetual inventory, you could take that out to a spreadsheet, take any of those reports out to a spreadsheet format and work with them, anything that they might need to do extra with that information. And what happens once the order is submitted is it is automatically going to just start building a new order. So when these get checked in, it'll then basically give these a different status, and then you're going to end up starting to build a brand new order on the very next scan or very next vend of product. You actually see the area where the items that did not meet those full box counts, these are those replenishment usage records that have not yet been added to an RO number. Once they hit below that stock level that was set on those clips, then they'll get removed from here and get added and get built onto that next order. That's a little quick preview of the Collision Links module along with CollisionScan. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Glenn Jr. And I appreciate your time, everyone.
All right. Well, that is actually the totality of the scheduled presentation for today. It's just simply to give you guys an introduction to what CollisionVend and CollisionScan is, as well as something that may make you come up with another question that you want to ask us about later or want more information on this. The information is on the screen again. Once again, it's CollisionVend at ComCept.net, and the phone number is 727-535-1900, and select option 2. That should come to the CollisionVend line and CollisionScan line, and we will address it from there. We look more than forward to give people individual demos that are specific to their situation, answer specific questions, and like I said, I can provide more information electronically on both CollisionVend, CollisionScan, and as well as Collision Links to anyone that asks for it. And this presentation that I did here is available as a handout on this webinar. If you find the handout selection, you can download it from there. We had a couple of questions come in during the presentation, most of which were related to demographics and technological issues going on with the presentation. I think we addressed most of those. Some came in while I was presenting, so I didn't see those. I apologize. If anyone has something specific that they would rather not bring up individually later, feel free to type it in now, and we can address it at this point. Otherwise, we really do enjoy the individual contact of talking to you about your specific situation and how our solutions can be the best fit for you after the fact, using the information that's on the screen.
So I guess I can close now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to tell everybody thanks, but we'd really appreciate any kind of input to that CollisionVend at ComCept.net as to how we could make these better. We were questioning whether we ought to do voice questions everyone can hear rather than typing it in, but with these webinars are going to be regular, and we hope that I think the first one went pretty well. I certainly hope we can improve them, and any of your input would certainly be appreciated. And the biggest thing here is that the jobbers that have been successful with this, and extremely successful, have made a major commitment to this. This is not something that you can take an existing business model and throw it out there for a salesman to work with it and it be successful. You know, a good example I watched 30 years ago, like McDonald's, they don't have somebody that comes in and checks stock and places orders. It's automated from the actual cash register, which is the same as a vending machine. And that's really, it's not for everybody, but there are certain situations that we like to make sure that we're giving you the most powerful tools to work with. But it takes a commitment, it takes a complete review and revamping of the business model, and there's a lot of money to be made from that. I talked to one of our largest clients at his body shop just before this, and I was saying, you know, a lot of shops will say, well, we have a guy that does parts, and so he's already on the payroll. So we just have him do the supplies. And so I asked this guy that's full vending, you know, how he handles it in his shop. He said when he had his parts guys doing supplies, he said his inventory was never correct. A lot of the stuff didn't get billed properly. He called it a disaster. He said that through the implementation of vending, that he does not have to even think about managing inventory. A very interesting thing is that he has that CollisionScan station at the end where they scan the clips, and he said that's the only area where he runs into discrepancies in inventory, and he's even talking about putting his clips in vending machines for the future, because that's the biggie. He does not manage inventory anymore. It's always correct, and his recovery dollars are just significant, and his administration dollars have lowered. So give us some thought. We're here for you. Anything we can do, let us know. And I think TJ and Glenn did a wonderful job. Boy, it sure is nice to have some help. I didn't have to do it. But enjoyed talking to you, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks.